27-inch 4K QD OLEDs are the talk of the town in 2025. They offer premium colors, deep blacks, and sharp motion. With higher pixel density, they look even sharper than last year's 32-inch models. They may be smaller, but they're already proving to be more popular. Hey, I'm Nicholas from Rtings.com. Today we're going to review the MSI MPG 272URX. It's a high-end 4K 27-inch QD OLED that's essentially a newer and smaller version of the popular MPG 272URX. It competes against other monitors that use the same 4th gen QD OLED panel, like the Dell AW2725Q and the ASUS PG27U CDM. It's not the only model with this panel from MSI though, as they also have the MPG 272UP, which is lower end and has less features. Basically, this monitor is part of a saturated market of 4K 240Hz QD OLEDs, whose main differences come down to these features. So now that we know where it stands in the market, is there anything that sets it apart, and should you buy it? Before getting into the specifics, you'll notice that the monitor has a premium look. It has both matte and glossy plastic that feels solid, with no obvious defects. There's some branding and RGB lighting on the back to help complement your gaming setup. It also comes with a stable and ergonomic stand that's easy to adjust how you like. One downside is that the inputs are set into the back of the monitor and face down, so they can be hard to reach. But at least it offers a wide selection of inputs. There's DisplayPort and HDMI that both offer the latest high bandwidth versions, which is great if you have a high-end graphics card. Plus, there's a small USB hub that includes a KVM switch, so you can connect two computers and use the same keyboard and mouse on both. The USB-C port also supports DisplayPort Alt Mode, which helps if you want to easily connect a laptop and charge it with one cable. MSI advertises up to 98 watts of power, but we couldn't get more than 90 watts when we tried with different MacBooks. Besides that, it offers a few features that you might find helpful. There are picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture modes to view images from two sources at the same time. It also has typical gaming perks like crosshairs and scopes that are handy for FPS games. Now that we know what it offers in terms of inputs and features, we can talk about its performance, starting with the picture quality. Realistically, this video can be super short. If you've seen any of the dozen other QD OLED monitors we've reviewed on this channel, you know how they perform. But if you haven't, welcome to the channel, and don't worry, we'll break it down for you. To start, it has the same deep and inky blacks in dark rooms that any OLED has. There's no haloing around bright objects either. But these blacks look purple in bright rooms mainly because the panel lacks a polarizer. So if you want to get that near infinite contrast ratio, keep your lights off. You'll also want to avoid using it in a sunny room because it has a glossy coating that reflects light back like a mirror. It's actually pretty effective at minimizing the amount of light coming off the screen, but you'll still have trouble properly seeing the display if you place it in front of a window. The monitor doesn't get bright enough to fight a ton of glare either, especially in SDR. Sure, it does get brighter in HDR and small highlights pop against the rest of the image, but it doesn't maintain this high brightness with larger highlights. On the plus side, it has fairly accurate PQ EOTF tracking in the EOTF boost mode, so it displays most content at the brightness that the creator intended. But because there's a slow roll-off before reaching its max brightness, it's tone mapping before your source does, and highlights don't get as bright as they could. The same thing happens in the two other display HDR modes, which are less accurate and dimmer overall. The EOTF boost mode also has the best colors out of these, which is to say that it displays a wide range of colors in HDR. It covers most of the DCI-P3 color space that's used in most content. And while it has more limited coverage of the wider Rec 2020 color space, colors are still pretty accurate in it. Plus, it makes them look bright and vivid for a punchy and realistic HDR viewing experience. This pretty much puts it in line with other QD OLEDs, so nothing surprising here. It also displays a wide range of accurate colors in SDR. It comes with a dedicated sRGB mode that doesn't oversaturate colors or have any obvious issues. It's not perfect though, gamma is a bit bright, so you need to calibrate it to fix it. One thing to note is that when we calibrated it, we had to adjust the RGB color temperature settings to their max of 100 before doing any fine tuning. leaving them at their default of 50 made the screen way too dim. Just something to keep in mind if you're going to calibrate it. If you're using it for content creation or any sort of work, you'll be happy to know that images and text look sharp. The higher pixel density is a step up from last year's 32-inch 4K QD-OLEDs, and it's hard to see any fringing around letters. There still is fringing at the top and bottom edges of windows because of its triangular subpixel layout, but how much this bothers you changes from person to person. Alright, we can move on to gaming now. For starters, you could reach its max 240Hz refresh rate over DisplayPort without using any sort of compression. Of course, you need a DP 2.1 graphics card as well. That said, the monitor needs to use DisplayStream compression over HDMI to reach the max of 240Hz. There is a DSC setting to turn it off if you prefer, but that lowers the refresh rate to 120Hz. Regardless of the connection you use, the monitor supports all common VRR formats to reduce screen tearing. And whether you're gaming with VRR on or off, it has a near instant response time at any refresh rate. This means fast-moving objects look sharp, which is ideal for playing action games. Some transitions have overshoot, but this doesn't translate into obvious inverse ghosting. And of course, there's persistence blur at 60Hz, so you'll have to use it at high refresh rates to get the best motion. You'll probably want to use a computer that can maintain stable frame rates though. Like any OLED, it unfortunately has distracting VRR flicker with changing frame rates. It's most noticeable in dark scenes or darker areas of bright scenes. To avoid it, you'd either have to set a frame rate cap or disable VRR altogether. On the plus side, the input lag stays low at any refresh rate, even with VRR enabled. That makes this monitor a fantastic choice for any type of gaming that needs fast reactions. This includes gaming with a PS5 or Xbox Series X. Plus, it supports any signal with these consoles up to 4K at 120Hz, but it doesn't support Dolby Vision with an Xbox. So, all of this sounds pretty familiar, no? That's because it is. QD-OLEDs all perform so much alike, especially when it comes to gaming, so it's hard to tell them apart. First off, this monitor is an improvement over the older MSI MPG 272URX. It's more of a modern monitor because it comes with DisplayPort 2.1, which the older model doesn't have. Plus, the higher pixel density is helpful for text-heavy games. Of course, if size is your top consideration, then you should stick with the older model. If you're looking for a 27-inch 4K QD-OLED, then you have to compare this monitor to the competition, like the Dell Alienware AW2725Q. The two perform so similarly, so any differences really come down to features. The MSI has a few extra perks, like DisplayPort 2.1 and a KVM switch, which the Dell doesn't have. However, the Dell supports Dolby Vision, which you should consider if you want to connect something that also uses Dolby Vision, like a Blu-ray player or an Xbox. You also have to consider that the Dell costs less, so you're paying a premium for those extra features on the MSI anyways. Whether or not you need these features and how much you're willing to stretch your budget really impacts your buying decision here. But if money isn't an issue and you want the best QD-OLED monitor you can get right now in terms of features and performance, the MSI still falls behind the ASUS PG27U CDM. The ASUS has all the same features of the MSI, including the USB hub, KVM switch, and DisplayPort 2.1. Plus, it has perks the MSI doesn't have, like Dolby Vision. And the ASUS gets brighter and does a better job at reducing glare in bright rooms, so it has some advantages in performance too. With all this out of the way, we can answer our main question. Is this monitor worth getting? There's no question it's a top monitor that checks off all the boxes of what you'd want for gaming. Deep blacks, bright highlights, sharp motion, low input lag, and DisplayPort 2.1, you name it. But when you're about to spend so much cash on a premium monitor, you also want to pay attention to the small details. It has some useful features with its USB hub, but it's still not in the same tier as the top ASUS PG27U CDM, and it costs more than the value-friendly Dell AW2725Q, so it's in a weird spot in the market. Depending on your needs, it may be tough to recommend it over those two monitors, but it's still a very solid gaming monitor that's worth getting, especially if you could find it on sale. That's all for our review of the MSI MPG 272URX. If you want more details, check out our written review. The link is in the description below. Until next time, I'm Nicholas from Rtings.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Ciao.